Hi everyone, welcome to Coffee Time with Masterminds. Today we are continuing the conversation on innovative workforce solutions. As I previously mentioned on another show, we have been talking about workforce for the last several weeks, and we've learned quite a few things. As a nation, we are feeling the pain of the great resignation, and leaders of both mission-based organizations as well as private companies are wondering, where did everyone go? And for many organizations, what this has meant is innovating around workforce solutions that is helping them retain and recruit members to their team. And for others, it is shedding some light on a different way of thinking about workforce development and how we can grow our workforce to continue to sustain our country. So today we're going to have a really interesting conversation about a really, really great program. And we ask that you stay with us, grab a cup of coffee, and join us as we talk about innovative workforce solutions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coffee Time with Masterminds.
My name is Peta Blakely, and I'm the founder and principal of Blakely Consulting.
Welcome to Coffee Time with Masterminds. I am Cynthia Rojas, founder and principal of To Your Growth.
Welcome to Coffee Time with Masterminds. I'm Rebecca Tuttle, founder and principal of Grant Right Now and Grant Writing for Good.
Hi again. I am Cynthia Rojas, and you are watching Coffee Time with Masterminds. My co-hosts are both taking a long-deserved vacation, and I today am writing solo with a project director from an innovative organization called Sanctuary Kitchen. But before we bring her on, I want to welcome all of our viewers throughout the country and across the world, as well as our listeners in Australia. If you are watching us, please put your name in the comments and where you're from, as we always enjoy hearing from you. So I am excited to bring on Nasima Gilson. Nasima, how are you?
I'm great.
How are you?
I am good, and you are a project director at Sanctuary Kitchen, which is a program of City Seed in New Haven, Connecticut. I am excited to hear about you. How's it going?
It's great.
And was the holiday season very busy for you?
Luckily, it was pretty low key. I think a lot of people did a lot of their own things, but be back at work.
Oh, good. So you didn't have to deal with the holiday rush, which sometimes is a conflict because you also want to enjoy the holiday and then realize that you're overworking during that time. So let's jump right in. I am eager to have our listeners hear about Sanctuary Kitchen. I have to tell you that your organization was recommended to me by someone who said you were quite innovative, and that I would be very interested in hearing about the work you do. So tell us a little bit about what you do, and I'm also interested in the thinking behind this program and its origin story.
Sure. So Sanctuary Kitchen actually started in 2017. It was just post-2016 elections, and some lesson plan, and kind of a whole lot of other things that were at the same time. And there were about four volunteers and organization leaders throughout New Haven who got together to decide what they wanted to do. They needed to do something, help these refugees, help the so Sanctuary Kitchen was born. It started as a club where people would go to someone's house and gather, and a refugee immigrant chef would prepare a beautiful meal, talk about their story, and kind of what it means to be in New Haven, and the sanctuary that New Haven brings. Since then, we've translated to more of a training program for refugee and immigrant women chefs. And we're under the umbrella of City Seed, which I'm sure, as you know, is an organization that hosts farmers markets in New Haven and is really on the forefront of food justice in Connecticut. So we kind of fit in there really well as far as mission goes. It just made a lot of sense.
Yes, I love this idea about food justice. I have to tell you, that was not a term I was familiar with until I began working in New Haven, and I really appreciate New Haven's focus on food justice. Tell us a little bit about what that means and why it's important for us to think about that.
Sure. So I think, especially in New Haven, there's so many different diverse neighborhoods, and not all of them have the same access to healthy, quality food. And so DC has really tried to make a point of bringing those all farms to come to one place to where people access. So we run several farmers markets throughout the year, and they're really successful. It's helping people, I think, learn how to cook in a healthy way and how to give food to more people, just more access.
Yes, I really appreciate City Seed, especially all those farmer markets. And so Sanctuary Kitchen sounds like it started as a way to build community, but you are now running entrepreneurship programming. And so I am interested to hear what that is and how is it different from a job training or workforce training program?
So we do a training program for refugee and immigrant women. So it's all about culinary arts. They start with culinary ESL program. They start with culinary arts in the classroom. They learn American measurement, how to scale recipes, how to build a recipe, and then from there they move into our kitchen and prepare our food items. And what we want to do is focus on entrepreneurship, because a lot of these women may have had their own food businesses in their home countries. So really giving them the financial stability, the tools to really be able to go forward and open their own business in New Haven or the area. Some of them are on the path there. So that's great.
Nice.
We'll see how it goes. They also will have tools to work at any culinary business, if it's like a restaurant, a caterer, really anywhere that they feel comfortable. A lot of them just common thread that they want to open their own business.
Wow.
To me, it's great. It continues that community building, because they're bringing their cuisine to the broader population.
Yeah. So one of the myths, well, one of the thinkings, I don't know if it's a myth, but about the Great Resignation is that everybody's left their job to start a business, right? And I think what is fascinating about your program is that this is a population or a group of individuals, especially that they're women, who might have had challenges finding jobs in the workplace. You mentioned something interesting, culinary ESL. Do you want to tell me a little bit about what that means specifically?
Yes. So one of the things we thought was we didn't want to be a full ESL program, only because we didn't really have the resources to kind of build a full learning program. But we did have enough to do something that was specifically related. Terms in the kitchen that everyone would know in order to keep their team. Also different diets and what those mean. Just everything that you can think of that has to do with the kitchen on a basic level. Learning in English.
Yeah. So I went to cooking school for several years, and I know, it's not easy. And it's not easy when you already know how to cook, right? Because we tend to, just add a little here, add a little there. And this idea of measuring feels like, what are you talking about? And then there's this concept my mother always tells me about is cooking with love. Right, so there's a little bit of that, which, by the way, they don't teach you in cooking school. But I wonder how the participants reconcile that their years of knowledge right, of just building recipes and putting a little bit of this and a little bit of that, to then translating it to a recipe that can be replicated with measurements. Is that a hard thing?
It's definitely a challenge. I think, when you're so used to cooking for your family or your extended family, so it's a large group, it's like you said, you should get a little of this, a little of that, and kind of see what happens. But the importance of, in this food business, of having that consistency, the replication of a recipe from one dish to another, because that's what your customers expect.
Right.
Is they expect to have the same thing each time they order. So I would say that it was a stumbling block, but not a wall. And I think they've improved greatly, and they're able to do it really well now. And they're even able to build their recipes now, which is really cool to watch. Just see them going through everything in their mind. And it's still all made with love, for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Which is just born in us. So,
yes.
And so I'm thinking, so City Seed is focused on food justice for all groups of individuals. Why did Sanctuary Kitchen decide to focus on refugee women? Tell me a little bit about the unique circumstances that makes this important to focus on.
Sure. A lot of the time, I think it's a group that kind of almost gets forgotten because once they're here, everybody kind of assumes they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they can run their own but the reality is they really can't. There are so many barriers to employment for a lot of them, whether it's citizenship or transportation or childcare, the list goes on. So our focus is really to be on those refugee and immigrant women because New Haven has so many refugees and immigrants right now. I mean, we truly are a melting pot.
Yes, we are.
And I think anything we can do to help them get a little further. And a lot of these women love to cook. They have their family recipes. So why not teach them how to do that professionally so that they can go out and do whatever they want.
Yeah. And tell me about the entrepreneur side. I mean, that's complicated. I own my own company, and wow, it is complicated. There's insurance and bank accounts, and there's an LLC, and there's all kinds of things. Tell me what the program teaches on the business side.
Sure. So we do a little bit of that. CDC also has another program called Incubate, and they have a food business accelerator. So really, we're trying to partner with them to give all of that information. Because I think not a lot of people realize quite how much goes into opening a business, and I think even those in the food business don't understand what it takes. They just think, okay, I've got great food, I want to give it to people. And I think it kind of blows their mind a little bit when they realize all of those steps that are required. So with the Incubate program and us, it's really giving them the tools, a checklist of what they can do, putting them together with partners that might be able to help them through the process. It's all about the community and making sure that we have the right partners for them.
Yeah. And you're so right. It's so much work. I wonder, I was talking, we had a show with another organization that also focuses on the mental health aspect, right? And I'm going to imagine this is a population that has also felt isolated. Although you did mention New Haven has a lot of refugees, it probably does not have enough, right, to feel like you're home. And so the Sanctuary Kitchen work with individuals through what might be some mental health concerns or challenges.
I think like any good nonprofit, we wear many hats. The nice part is we're such a small group at Sanctuary Kitchen, and we really are a family. I mean, we really go through whatever our chefs are going through, and vice versa. So we celebrate the big moments, we help them through the difficult ones. So mental health is a big part of it, and just being able to talk it with them, and I think helps in an infinite way.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And so, we're also talking about the larger problem, which is workforce just all in all, right? And so what I have learned and what the other co-hosts have learned through the series of conversations we've had is that there's also opportunity. There are groups of people willing and excited and eager to work. And because of barriers, they're not included in our workforce. And so you named a couple, right? You named language and childcare and transportation. Are there other unique characteristics that serve as challenges or barriers for our refugee community that we should really consider breaking through?
I think a lot of it is preparing them. It's job readiness because some of them don't know how to find a job, how to look for a job, how to build your resume, how to interview, what to wear to an interview. There's all these steps that you wouldn't think of. If it's your first job, you don't know any better.
Right.
So, one of the modules we're trying to integrate into our training program is that job readiness aspect. So we don't guarantee that we will find them a job afterward, but we're going to give them everything we can in order to help them through to find one.
Yeah. So many things we don't think about and we take for granted, right? And some of this is taught in school, but some of it you also learn because you have a network or you have family members that can mentor you. And I want us to all imagine being sent to a different country where you don't know anyone as soon as you step in, right? And so there are programs that embrace you and welcome you, but you've left your family behind and you've left your network and you're starting again from ground zero, which can be challenging. And for some of these women, I'm sure they're coming with their children and spouses, and so they have to care for others as well and be confused and lost and isolated or feeling, I think I'm projecting also because I've moved to a couple of different states and this is how I feel. Like, oh my God, I don't know anybody. Like, where's the DMV? I recently moved to Florida and this is interesting. The DMV is part of the tax collector's office in Florida. And I couldn't wrap my head around that. Like, why are you sending me to the tax collector? And it's all very interesting. And yet, in the state of Connecticut, at least my tax collector was in my city hall. And the DMV is in a totally different place that only does DMV issues.
Right.
So navigating these things are challenging.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then if you don't have that language barrier, or just trying to navigate the city in and of itself.
Yeah.
Without any guidance, that's hard. And for our chefs too, a lot of them were the breadwinner in the family because we were able to retain everybody over the pandemic. So for a lot of them, they were supporting their whole family.
Yeah. So I know in your program also the women work as they're learning. So tell me a little bit about how you had to pivot during the pandemic.
Sure. So during the pandemic, we had hired on all of the chefs in the cohort that we had, and we pay them above market wages. We wanted to make sure that they had that safety net.
Yeah.
And the organization pivoted as a whole to more of a curbside pickup menu, so we would prepare meals that people could just come and pick up, which we still do.
Nice.
And still continuing with the farmers markets, just masks and trying to be as safe as possible. But really, we just wanted to focus on making sure that they were safe, and so that meant grants, all sorts of other things that we could come up with.
Yeah.
But that was the biggest priority for us, was just making sure, knowing that they were supporting their families in most cases, that they could continue to.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I would imagine that, and well, you mentioned that many of them were the sole breadwinner during the pandemic. And so I have a deep appreciation. I want to reiterate the point that you made that you pay them above market rate, right? And so I would imagine that the transition from your program into the outside world where there is the logistics of running a business, probably being a solopreneur, and a lot of it being you are now accountable could also be a challenge. And I wonder if you support services for that transition as well.
So one of the big things that we're trying to do is making sure we're partnering with other food businesses around New Haven, because I'm trying to set the trainees up with an internship for a little while.
Nice.
So they get the real world experience, but they also are building that connection so that when they finish our program, they have those opportunities to know somebody and possibly get a job with them if they don't want to go on to be their own boss.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a big part. Too. It's really all about building that network community throughout the food businesses of New Haven.
Yeah, I love this. So you are transforming lives, but also expanding and strengthening the ecosystem.
Right.
So
One of my big dreams for Sanctuary Kitchen is that we can build a toolkit for our businesses in New Haven of what it's like to employ refugees. What that means for the employer side, because I think so many are afraid to enter that system. But if we have the tools, so why not share them?
right. And so I was going to ask you, like, what are employers missing out on by not thinking about engaging refugee women into their organization or into their company?
I think it's commitment. I think they're all hard workers in a way that I can't even describe. I'm the child of an immigrant. That work ethic is something that I can't even describe. And so I think they're missing out on that, and also just somebody who has a lot of heart wants to work. I think it's the want.
Yeah, I get you. And, we're dealing with a great resignation. And so I get asked all the time, where did everybody go? Right? Did everybody actually start their own business? And I'm not sure. I have not been able to answer the question, where did everybody go? And I don't think everybody has started their own business. But I do think that being home for the time that we were home, we did a lot of thinking. We did a lot of reflecting. And I think people really pivoted. And so employers now have to pivot and rethink how to retain their workers and how to recruit and how to expand their workforce to include groups that they may not have considered. So you start hiring people who don't know English well or who don't speak it fluently, then you make adjustments for that. And we all live in a world where things are multi-language, and so we can work around that. But I think it takes some thinking, definitely some intentionality. And so I wonder, do you have you come across, and so I know we didn't plan for this question, so if you don't have an answer, that's okay. But you're in the system, you're in the sector, and so I wonder if you've seen some employers make that pivot and really embrace our new individuals in a way that you may not have seen before.
I think so. I think some people are a little more willing to kind of end on the entry level positions. You don't need a ton of extra experience on top of it. I think it's also, there's been a lot of workforce development, so professional development when they're in the resources to kind of get them to where they need to be if they're not quite there yet.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Nasima, is your goal for everyone to build their own business? Because that's a whole lot of restaurants in a small city. Or is it something bigger than that? Like, what's your long-term vision for your program?
I would love them to do whatever they feel good about and confident about. So if that is open their own restaurant, great. New Haven has so many different cuisines. Let's add some more. You know, I'm happy to do it.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's really just giving those tools to empower themselves to be the best at whatever they are. Those transferable skills that can go to any job afterward. It's just I want them to live their best and most fruitful life that they can. And I love being a part of that.
I love that. I love that. Living your best life is definitely one of my models. And I have to ask, because I've been wondering, oh my God, the question just left my head. Oh, it was a good one too. I've been wondering, okay, it left me. It will come back. Oh man, but it had to do with the women. And so, tell me, so there has to be an education on the other side also, right? Because eating cuisine from different countries for foodies like me, and I'm sure you're a foodie, you know, the more the better, the more different, the more intriguing it is to me. But Americans are not always the best eaters. And I wonder, how do you then build a following and expand the culinary experiences of people who may not be used to trying new things?
That's a great question. So one of the big things we try to do is storytelling and attaching those dishes to storytelling. So making it really personal. Because I think when you meet somebody that comes from a different background and you hear their story, you get excited about it. You know, you want to try their food, you want to learn more about it, and that's one of the big things. We try and do a lot of community events as well, so that way our chefs have the opportunity to speak if they're comfortable and share their food with a wider audience. That's kind of how we've been able to sustain this long time, because people are coming in, they're ordering from us because they're just excited to hear more and learn more and taste more.
I love that. I love that. Storytelling and food. I absolutely love that. And my last question is, have you had any unintended consequences? So here's a program that starts by wanting to build community. You build this training program and you focus on entrepreneurship, and the women are ready to move on and you'll be starting another cohort. But what else has this program done that you may not originally set out to do, but it's been a positive thing?
I think it's educating the people of New Haven a little more about the diversity that we have here. And it's also these women have really become a family. I mean, even me and the culinary director side, they themselves have become family. They spend time together outside of work. They are each other's network. They help each other through everything. It's so beautiful to watch. And I think that's what you can hope for. And I think that that's one of the things that has to happen on its own, and it really did here.
Yeah. Network and family is everything. It really is. And so kudos to you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your work, your passion, and really how you're transforming lives. And our hope on Coffee Time is that, at least on this issue for workforce, is that employers get to widen their lens and really begin to embrace different populations that they may not have that they have not considered as they work through the challenge of the great resignation and all the other things that we're dealing with these days. So thank you so much, Nasima. And I want to say thank you to our listeners and to our viewers. And we will see you again next Friday at the same time.